Evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2021 Abington Finance Committee meeting. Tonight, we will be continuing our series of meetings with department heads from various departments across the town. Tonight, we have with us our Council on Aging department head, Suzanne Justberg. We have our Treasurer, Sonia Hodge, and we have our Department of Public Works Chief, John Stone. Welcome, everybody. Glad you could make it here with us tonight. And I'm going to share the agenda quickly. If I can find the right window. There it is. There's our agenda. So we have, we're going to throwing a slight audible right away. We're going to flop Council on Aging and Treasurer. So Suzanne will be going through her budget first, and then Treasurer, and then DPW, and then we'll go through our usual business of liaison reports, correspondence, review of minutes, and our next meeting will be next week, February 10th. So Suzanne, if you would like to get started, I will bring up the other budgets.
We've been really busy throughout this COVID, like everyone else. We're coming out like rock stars. And we, with other departments, really helped out each other out and crossed lines. And I can't thank enough to the fire department, the police department, town hall, especially. Everyone helped out. We came down with COVID in December, my whole staff. So that was an interesting development, since we give out a ton of gifts for Christmas. But the staff actually really helped out in town hall delivering all our Christmas gifts. So just want to throw out a great job to the staff. The only thing that's changing into my budget is the salary and wage portion. We found that even though we weren't open from February to July, it was painstakingly difficult to keep everything clean. And we were finding that we were doing more hours, meeting people with appointments, trying to just bridge gaps with our seniors. We did over 75 seniors for open enrollment, which is four hour-and-a-half long meetings with them a day, when Amy Barrett was part-time at that point. We had lost a Meals on Wheels coordinator. She had just resigned the end of this January. So we are not going to hire another person until next fiscal year for her. And then I increased our custodian from 19.5 hours to 25 hours. He was actually 15. We increased him to 19.5 with all the cleaning, disinfecting like everybody else is doing, just making sure that everything is super clean at the senior center, especially when we invited them back in June to come. And our van driver, we were doing so many rides for doctors coming into June. I know from February on, it was very quiet. We only did emergencies, and we had a lot of those. So we increased her to 25 hours, so five hours a week. Our custodian I increased, and our outreach coordinator. And then we have a secretary there who does transportation, and she is still part-time. So then, is there any questions about the salary part? I have to apologize. I don't like Zoom. I like to be with people, and I like to express my feelings and use my hands. And so I apologize.
No need to apologize. I think it's good for our Council on Aging director to like to be with people.
I do have a little bit of comment for that we did increase those items because of COVID, and they're being cared for under the reimbursement plan right now, but we don't know how far along that's gonna go, and that's why her increase in her salaries went from 137 to 174. That is, if we do not continue to get additional funding, and we want to keep these people on to provide for our seniors, then we need to fund it in the general fund budget. So there's a potential that those salaries that were increased in hours, if we get additional funding, or if we can go through FEMA, which that's going to be our next avenue, is to search out the FEMA reimbursements. But in the meantime, we need to still provide for the seniors, and that's where those increases are coming from. Correct, Suzanne?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Uh,
So-
Sorry,
Go ahead.
question on that is, are we expecting that when things go back to normal, whenever that might end up being, that the additional hours and things will go back down? Or like, how long are we expecting that those will sort of continue?
So
We're not in a
with
pandemic.
the resignation of the Meals on Wheels coordinator, those hours will probably not go back down, because they're gonna have to substitute. They're not replacing that position. So they're gonna substitute the other employees that we increase the hours to. If it's not COVID, they're gonna be covering Meals on Wheels, which they're doing now anyway.
Right.
So we're expecting to keep those people at the 29-hour positions, 25-hour positions, but the item that you see in there for Meals on Wheels, 19.5 hours per week for 15,000 is not going to be a recommendation when we go to town meeting and under the town manager's recommendation. That is completely being removed. So when you take into effect hours that we increase those people, the Meals on Wheels coordinator was still in the position. She's resigned, and so that money is going to be dispersed. So if it's not CARES, we still want to keep those people, because we don't have a Meals on Wheels coordinator anymore.
Right.
Again, Suzanne, confirm?
Yes, thank you.
So we're really looking at 159.
Yes.
So just the observation, you're providing extra services. The budget you spent in 2020 was 106,000, 2021 138,000, plus you've actually spent more because of COVID, and that's coming out of the COVID fund. And then you're going to 160, 159 in fiscal year 22. So about a 50% increase over 2 years. But for this, because of extra services that you provide.
That is correct.
Anyone else questions on salaries?
So for electricity budget, I budgeted $120. I know that Sue has taken the electricity budget and put it into one bill for the entire town. This is for the new digital sign that we have at the senior center. We didn't realize that the meter was never running. So, and we just got a couple of bills from that. So that's going to be like the $120 for the year. I didn't increase anything as far as the heat, the gas. Van is doing great still. Training, if we ever get any training. And everything else did stay the same. I tried to keep the budget within the parameters of the last actually 3 or 4 years.
Have we actually spent the gas and heat in the last couple of years?
We have a building, our building, I don't anticipate, we have got a new roof this year. It's been insulated, so I was trying to actually judge. We were losing a lot of heat in the past years because our roof needed to be fixed. We just got a new roof. I'm not sure if we're going to be losing all the heat that we did in the past. So I kept it from last year. I kept the same budget for the year before.
But I just see that you've only incurred about 466 through, I don't know what that's through, but it may be only through, Sue can tell us whether that's through December. I know the winter is usually more expensive, so. But
Right. For that building, it's an older building. We do need to replace the doors in that building and some of the windows. We're looking at, I think we bought the building in 91, or the building was there in 91. I think it was completed in 92. So at that point, we lose a lot of heat with the windows, the older windows, the doors, that kind of thing. And we were losing a lot of heat through the not having a really great roof. And also it wasn't insulated until 2009.
I don't doubt that. It's just not showing up in the actual number.
Yeah,
I
if
don't
you
know.
look at the screen share, I don't know if you can see my highlighting. I just highlighted. What we're seeing right now for total spent for the year so far is $466.24.
So technically our heating bills are just coming in, and that's probably something that comes from November. Our December bills haven't come in yet. Our January bills haven't come in yet. So, obviously we don't use much heat during the summer months.
Right. And we've had a very warm fall.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I wasn't.
Nope,
that's fine.
anyone with other questions there? Get down through. Anyone else? All right, looks like we're good. Suzanne, any capital items this year?
I did put the HVAC on the capital plan, which we've done for the last few years. Like I said, it's an old building. I believe we have 14 units for the heat and like 16 for the AC outside. It's just a lot. It's an old system. So that the doors really do need to be replaced. And quite possibly the floor needs to be redone, retiled. Everything is settling at the senior center.
And we are looking at we just closed out a Green Communities grant for the HVAC system within the town hall and the library. The reporting has all been done, so we're eligible as of this month, to apply for a new grant. So we're hoping that we can get that for the senior center and possibly the Strawberry Valley Golf Course to have the additional grant funding for upgrading the HVAC systems to those buildings as well. And I will be starting to work with OCPC on getting the application completed and hopefully approved by the end of March.
Just sorry, I see on this budget, we talked about the gas to heat budget, then down below, there's gas and oil budget.
That is for the van.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's for the van.
That's for delivering meals and for taking people to appointments and
That's correct.
other things that the council does.
Yeah.
Which have been very, very important this year.
It's been like everyone, challenging, and but we'll make it through. There is
Suzanne,
light at the end of the tunnel.
so are the seniors able to be back in the building?
They were back in the building. We opened the building in July of this year with the parameters, 25% in the building, which it was actually 20, in the beginning, it was 25 people in the building at one time. And then in December, because of one of our seniors, not intentionally, came in with COVID and gave it to all of us, we had to close down the senior center. I'm anticipating if the vaccines, clinics keep on going like they did, we had our first one today. I'm anticipating maybe in March that Marty and I will have a discussion and we will open up the senior center sometime in March.
Closed now?
It's closed now. We only see it, it's appointment only, it's closed to the public. We do not do any meetings there or any functions there. Disappointing, very
Yeah.
disappointing for my seniors.
But be clear that they're still working and they're still providing Meals on Wheels and other things to the seniors
Right.
while they're closed.
Right, we have never closed. We have never, since this happened, we have always been open. We have always been in the office.
No, I just meant like they can't come and play cards or do computer classes or
No, it
yoga or anything that they were doing, being able to previously.
no, they cannot at this
Even-
time.
Even with the distancing or
Even with the distancing, because of because every one of the seniors gave us COVID, and Marty and I talked about it, and he was like, you have to shut it down. So it's unfortunate, but we do see people as far as outreach, housing. We're doing a lot more of housing. We're finding a lot of our seniors are, their homes are being sold or their apartments are being sold. So we're doing a lot of housing applications and getting them all through those by appointment only.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Suzanne? Suzanne, thank you again so much.
I had one more question. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Are you
nope.
able,
You
Are
can't
you
leave
able-
yet.
transport people like to doctor's appointments and things? How are they doing that?
Absolutely. We are transporting, we can only transport 3 people on our van at a time. So we section them out mornings and then afternoons, and then we have to clean it in between. And that's what's causing a lot of the issues, but we've been managing that. We have more and more people going to dialysis, and we're helping them out with the rides. We're just spacing them out and
Making more trips.
making more trips. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Suzanne, thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing for our seniors.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's not an easy year for you.
Yeah, not for anybody, not for anybody, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes,
Yep.
thankfully.
So thank you all. Thank you all. Be safe.
Thanks. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Next up on The Price is Right, Sonia Hodge.
Hi, everybody.
How are you, Sonia?
Good. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you
Oh,
again.
good to see you.
Okay, well, I'll jump right in. For salaries, right now in the budget, I have step increases for the 2 clerical staff in the office. I know that contract is in negotiations right now, so I assumed just a step increase. Obviously that would change depending on what the contract looks like. And then for myself and the assistant treasurer collector, there's a flat 2% increase. And that's it for salaries.
That's pretty easy.
For the sick leave incentive, we have that every year. That's part of the clerical contract for not using sick time. And I budget the full possible amount that they could earn to make sure that it's available. And then if you're okay to move into the expense items past the salaries. The first item is the postage meter lease. That is a multi-year contract. And that number is not going to change for a couple more years. For the education and training, what is in here right now is 615 for basically the cost of training. I know that we are looking at cutting as much as we can. And given that we probably are not going to be going anywhere for trainings for fiscal year 22, I've cut this number quite a bit on my end. I think I can get away with $100 on this line item. And so that would cut out 515. And the 100 that's in there would be just in case there's a webinar that we can do, or 1 or 2 webinars maybe. And then, let's see, after that, purchase services. This one I increased a little bit. We've got a couple of changes that we have to make for payroll. One is absolutely required for the Affordable Care Act. It's just going to cost more for that reporting based on the requirements the IRS has put out. And then we have an issue with one of the departments. We're not, I didn't realize we weren't stuffing their paychecks into envelopes. And so they're just sheets of paychecks with no confidentiality going on. So we're gonna make that change for this fiscal year to have them stuffed into envelopes by the payroll company. It's much cheaper to have them do it than to ask someone to put in more hours. It's about $1,500 a year. It's really not bad. So that's one change that we need to do because the wages are public record, but the deductions that people have elected are confidential. So we do need to have them in envelopes where they can't be viewed by other employees. So that explains the increase that I have there. For postage, I've left it the same. We're doing our best to email as much as we can, but you know, we still have to mail our tax bills and we still have to mail our demand fees, and all of that obviously costs money. So there's really not much I can do there. Office supplies, I kept it the same. Some years we're right up at that number. Some years we go over, some years we go under. You can see already we're getting close. So I don't feel comfortable dropping that number. The bulk of that really is envelopes for mailings and toner for printing. Okay, the next one is travel. And this one I've cut down quite a bit as well to account for us not going to trainings. And so I think I can reasonably get away with $300, and that is for just mileage around town. We go to the bank 2 to 3 times a week, and that adds up pretty quickly. And then after travel should be dues and fees.
Yep.
This one is $285. I can knock out $85 of it and just do 200, and that's for the Collector Treasurers Association for myself and the Assistant Treasurer Collector. A lot of the changes that come out, I find out from that organization. If there are changes in compliance requirements or just new laws that we now have to follow, that's usually how I find out about it. That's who puts on the webinars and trainings that are the most meaningful. So I definitely need to keep that in order to make sure that I'm doing my job effectively. So I've tried to cut where I can. It's
what are
really
the other
hard
ones?
because so much of what we do is just required. You know, we have to do payroll, we have to mail tax bills and try to collect those funds, and it all costs money, unfortunately.
What are the dues and fees that you're cutting out of the budget?
I cut out the Plymouth County Collector Treasurers Association fees. and the Massachusetts Government of Finance Officials Association fees. Neither of those are a whole lot of money, but it's money that is not absolutely essential. I do get a lot from those, but I think for a year we'll be okay not being a part of those associations. So that's the treasurer collector budget. Are there any questions about those items before we move on to the other ones?
Anyone have questions for something on this part?
Okay, so my next one is tax title. This one I've left in the $50,000. We've been able to increase our collections over $100,000 this year, just because this budget number is higher, because I can pay more money to the attorney, I can pay more money in postage, and focus on getting these collections in, filing foreclosure cases. A lot of cases, it requires a lot of research from the attorney, which you can imagine costs a lot of money. But it's just an expertise that I don't have, and not to mention time. So I would request to keep the $50,000. We did not spend as much in fiscal year 20 as I had expected, because we had planned an auction in the spring, which clearly put off and is now expected to happen this spring. So that would have been an extra amount that we didn't actually have. So it's being put to good use now that we have the payment plans too. That passed at town meeting this spring, and that's been a huge driver in getting those collections up and bringing in that revenue. So that has also been a really great thing for the town.
That's good to hear.
Sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
No, I just said that's good to hear. I'm glad
Yeah.
that's.
As we talked about when we talked about them last year, there were tools in the toolbox for you. So I'm glad to hear that they're being put to good use.
They are, and they're working. And it's we put it. The payment plans were really put out there for tax title accounts to get those paid off, because I think we all agree we'd rather keep people in their homes, help them redeem it as much as we possibly can. And so that payment plan has a partial interest waiver, which is great. But we've also been able to use it for people who are not yet in tax title, who are starting to fall behind. We can get them on a payment plan before there's a lien and give them those tools to keep their property in their name. And that's been really great too.
Nice.
Okay, so my next one then, if there are no other questions, would be retirement.
Sue, do we have that on?
This one might be near the end, because this is a 9110. Oh, there it is. Okay. You can see there's a bit of a jump here from last year to this year. And the primary reason from Plymouth County Retirement is that our salaries, the total amount of our salaries went up more than they expected. Whether that's from new hires or salary increases or simply new people in the system. If you have someone, we were talking about earlier, someone who was 19 and a half hours and now they're 25 hours. Well, now they're part of Plymouth County Retirement, and now their salary is added to our pot when they calculate how much we owe for funding our pension liability. So anytime a new person comes into the pension system, it's going to cost us more, not only in their salary and their Medicare costs, but also in our retirement budget, maybe a year or two down the road once they do a new valuation, which we're getting to the end of the funding schedule. We're supposed to be funded at fiscal year 29. And because it's looking like we're going to owe quite a bit over the next several years, they're doing annual valuations to make sure that the numbers are good. I wouldn't be surprised if they extend that schedule out. The Mass General law says that it has to go 2040 is the max. Right now we're at 2029. So if we extend our schedule, we can spread this out over a few more years to lower these numbers a little bit because it does look like they might get pretty large over the next 10 years. So this number is set by Plymouth County Retirement. We can't negotiate it. It is what it is. It's our share based on our salaries right now.
What's the hourly cutoff to be included? You
20
said
hours a week.
20 hours. So when we push somebody from 19 hours to 25 hours, like we just did in the Council on Aging, all of a sudden we've got a retirement liability.
Correct. And once someone is in the system, they stay in the system. So, you know, I don't know what we've done with these employees because it was originally a temporary move. They may not be in the system yet because temporary assignments aren't considered regular wages. So they may not have qualified to move into the pension system quite yet. However, if it is made permanent, they obviously would have to go into the system being over 20 hours a week. At that point, if it's a permanent move and they're added back in, and then for whatever reason, 2 years down the road, they get cut down to 15 hours a week, that individual, that person will remain in the system at 15 hours a week because once you're a member, you're always a member. So temporary moves don't impact us. Permanent moves that then get changed later on, well, that person will still be in the system on our tab.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, our next item is unemployment. This one's been a whirlwind this year. I'm sure everybody's heard about the fraud that's out there with the unemployment systems, and it's been a struggle. For Abington, at least, we've seen the fraudulent claims come down significantly. I was getting a dozen fraudulent claims a day there for a while, and myself and the HR services coordinator over at the school department were going back and forth. Who's this person? Is this yours? Is this mine? Trying to make sure that we respond to all these claims so that the town's not charged for any of them. So far, so good. We've had a few charges come on that were fraudulent, and then they came off a month later. So I know that there's been a lot of delays at the unemployment system, but as far as I'm concerned, they've done a really good job with what they've been handed this year. In terms of budget, though, I think we have been doing $70,000 year over year, and that's usually about where we fall. So I don't feel comfortable changing this. Right now, we've gotten a break because the federal government has been paying a portion of every unemployment claim if it's COVID related. That money may or may not be renewed for much longer. And people are still out of work. So I think this is a good number and not somewhere that we would want to cut. The next item then would be health insurance.
Go.
This number was updated recently. We've put in a 9% increase in our health premiums. We think that's a pretty reasonable number. Right now, our broker is saying that we should be looking at 10 or 11%, but it might come down. In general, we usually go lower than what the broker recommends, and it's always been a great decision. Our balance in the health insurance trust fund is healthy. We have enough to cover our claims at the end of a fiscal year. And so we feel pretty comfortable that a 9% at this point in the year is still a good number. It's possible it could come down further, not necessarily likely. And we certainly wouldn't want to go too low and then have to increase it at the 9th hour, 11th hour. So we're going to stick with the 9% for now until we get more information from the broker about what might be reasonable. And we'll have meetings with Blue Cross as well coming up as they analyze our claims as well. And so the two put together help inform the decision. And again, that's a decision that's made at the town level. Scott is the final say on what the insurance rates are in consultation with me and our underwriter, the broker, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So there's a lot of different information sources that come together. It's not a number that we just pick out of the air. At top of the insurance costs, there are a few other items that we're required to pay for. Medicare penalties if someone signs up late, that kind of thing. But those are small dollars that really don't add too much to that.
Anyone questions there?
Life insurance, no change. I kept it the same. Again, pretty reasonable number. I wouldn't expect to exceed this, but since we do have guaranteed benefits that we offer to employees, we need to make sure we have enough to cover everything. And then the last one is Medicare. And this is the Medicare tax that's required that we pay on every dollar that we pay in wages. I base this number based on fiscal year 21 actuals with a percentage increase year over year to get to what I expect it to be in 22. Any questions on those?
Anyone? Questions for Sonia on those?
No, I'm good.
Oh, looks good.
Sonia, do we go to debt service now?
Yep.
All right, let me switch the share.
Alrighty. So what you see here on the front of the screen where the highlighting is, we've got all of the debt for fiscal year 22. So there's, the bulk of it is debt excluded. There's excluded debt. That's going to be on top of the standard tax levy. That's in addition. Most of that obviously is going to be the school, middle school and high school. And then we have a few other projects there as well at the top that you can see in yellow, debt exclusion. Those are not part of the general operating budget. If you scroll down a little more, you can see now instead of debt exclusion, it says tax levy. These are projects that will be funded and paid for by our standard tax levy. And so this is part of our operating budget. All of these green projects are relatively new. The first three are a year or two old, and we've been doing short-term borrowings for those. And now that we have several other projects, it gives us a good amount that we can go ahead and borrow. And considering the low interest rates we have right now, we wanted to go ahead and do a bond issue, which is what I'm working on now. We just talked with Standard & Poor's this morning, Scott and Sue and I, and it seemed to go really well. It was a very good meeting. With the state of the world right now and wanting to go out for borrowing, it was the more stressful credit rating call I've had, but we're pretty confident that it went well. So we'll find out in a week from today what they're recommending, and we're hoping, and we have no reason to think that they won't affirm our current rating of AA. So it's possible there could be, if they change the outlook to a negative outlook, that could impact the interest rate that we get, but we don't expect to actually go down in a rating. So all of those green items are going to be on the bond issue that we're doing right now, except for the sewer main replacement. In this one, we are actually going to go through the state revolving fund through the Clean Water Trust. And the Clean Water Trust allows us to, well, the state runs the program. We go through all of their processes and requirements to bid the project. They review the project and approve it for the program. There are a lot of hoops we jump through, but by doing so, we get a guaranteed 2% interest rate, no matter what. And we're in tier 1 of the communities, and so we get a 3.3% forgiveness on the loan, which is great. So it's a wonderful program. You can see below these other water bonds that we've done. Those have all been through the Clean Water Trust as well. So it's something that the town has been doing for quite some time, and it's a program that is well respected in the state. So we're glad, we're really lucky that our project got approved. And John Stone's on the call. He can tell you that I've done this much work, and John Stone has done a ton of work to get this project off the ground and going through all of the steps that the state requires. So he deserves a lot of kudos on all the work he's put in to get this program to approve our project. So he saved the town a lot of money by doing it this way. I know it wasn't easy.
Thank you, Sonia.
You're welcome. So that's for new issues. Everything else for the water department, that's all old debt that we're paying off now. And the water bonds are all paid through water reserve funds through user fees. So that the water bonds don't actually come out of our operating budget.
Those come directly from the water department and their funds, their fees.
And that's debt. I know that we just formed a capital planning committee, and I'm involved with that group to help inform projects that would be something we'd want to borrow for, as well, in addition to Sue and Scott, to help guide them in terms of financing. And I know that we have a lot of projects on the capital plan in the next few years. So we'll have to be strategic in what we choose to do, what we choose to borrow for or not borrow for. And hopefully we can find creative ways to keep our debt down. And we all agree that we don't want to have too much debt. So I think that planning committee is going to be really instrumental in helping form a strategy for how we go about borrowing and for what types of projects we borrow for. And that's all I have.
Questions for Sonia?
How's the window?
It's great. Thank you for asking, Greg. It's wonderful. It's motorized and it opens and closes the way it's supposed to, and it doesn't get stuck, and it's locked, and there's audio. We can hear people, they can hear us. It's really amazing.
I used it today.
Did you really?
I did. Looks very good.
Great. We're really happy with it, and it should last us a long time.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes.
I just want to thank Sonia because for the first time in about 25 or first time ever, people can make sewer payments online, and that is a godsend.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got that off the ground too. And the water department was included in that too. So we've got water and sewer paying online. People can order additional trash carts online. I want to say there was one more. Oh, attorneys can order municipal lien certificates from our office online. That wasn't an option either. We work with Unipay. It's no cost to the town. It's the people who make payments pay a convenience fee to use it, but it's been really helpful, especially with COVID, not being able to come into buildings.
Good time.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Sonia? See a lot of shaking heads. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sonia, so much.
Thank you.
It is always very informative for us. We really appreciate the time you put in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you, you too. All right, and I will switch my share back to the budget and we will talk to our DPW chief, John Stone, who just chimed in a minute ago, but now gets to talk in a lot more detail. John, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, that was really, really important what Sonia did for people. Now people can make payments online. It's huge, especially with what's going on. I don't have to explain any further than that, but
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to Sonia. Park and rec budget. You want to get right into the budget, Matt?
Yep.
There's no changes to the park and rec budget. Everything's the same. Salaries.
Let me find the parking.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm just scrolling through. Employment, health, life. Recreation department. There we go. All right. We're ready for you now, John. Sorry.
No, not a problem. No changes at all to the recreation budget. We originally wanted another position, but understand it's not the time with everything going on. We will be asking for it next year. So other than that, no changes. Would you like me to run through the line items, Matt?
Sure, if you want.
All right. General salaries. That covers the cost of the recreation coordinator and the field use liaison. No changes there. 5120 covers the cost of the temporary employees, the college kids we hired to come in and mow lawns and weed whack and stuff during the summer. Overtime, in case we run into a problem where we need people to stay late. Seasonal stipend, contractual obligation, no change to that. And groundskeeping covers the cost of the irrigation systems for the ball fields, basic paint for painting the fields, the grids, the football field, the baseball fields, the soccer fields, grass seed, stuff like that. We made no changes to either anything on the recreation side of things.
John, going with the arrangement you have with the like Little League and the ball fields and everything.
Yeah, it's been going great. The system we put in place last year is working really well. Baseball's happy with it. We're happy with it. So there's absolutely no complaints. They said last year was the best the fields have ever looked. So credit goes to a lot of people, the staff.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
You're welcome. Matt, would you like to go to the highway budget now?
Yep. Just need to find it. Highway is up. There it is. Highway.
Let's see. So basically, there were no changes to we asked for another person, basically for the mechanic's office, the garage, because the fleet is increasing and has been increasing over the past 5 years, or maybe longer than 5 years. Jack could use another person in there. But we crossed it off the list for this year, knowing what the town is facing with the COVID and everything else. So we'll be asking for that again next year.
I have a,
Go ahead,
How
Barbara,
are
I'm
you-
sorry.
how are you guys dealing with like, can you have the same truck or now everyone has to kind of be separated, or how are you doing that?
We've all been in separate trucks, practicing the proper protocols, that type of thing. We haven't stopped, we haven't had one shutdown. We've kept going because we're essential employees.
Yeah.
But everyone's using their own truck. We have more trucks than guys, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
So everyone's been using their own trucks, and on Fridays we try to, unless there's something major going on, we try to disinfect the trucks, the locker room, the break area, and things of that nature. That's what we try to do on Friday afternoons to keep people safe.
Just one of those things that you don't think of, no?
Yeah, it is, Barbara. I mean, it's a really good question because, you know, if it snows next Thursday, we're not going to have the time to disinfect Friday. We'll have to do it the following Monday.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. But so for salaries, there are no changes except for contractual obligations and 2% step increases, which I think most of the other departments are using as a baseline mark. I can go through every position if you want, or we can just get right to the budget line items if you want. Matt, it's up to you.
Does anybody feel the need to go through each?
We can if you want. It's up to you.
I see heads shaking no, so I think we can go right to the budget items.
Budget line items. Do you want me to wait till you get them on the screen, Matt?
I think I got them. Salary and wages, seasonal employees.
Yeah, you do have them.
overtime.
You do have them.
Yep.
Electricity for streetlights, that's been combined into the town's overall electricity budget line item, so that's been zeroed out. However, we are embarking on a project with National Grid to change our 790 streetlights over to LEDs, which is going to save the town about $40,000 a year and give the town a one-time lump sum payment of $40,000 approximately at completion of the project.
Wow.
So, but that's not going to start for a couple months. We're at the mercy of National Grid schedule. So hopefully it starts in a couple months, and it'll probably take about a year to complete. So
And what put out on your end?
what's that, Barbara?
What do you have to put out on your end to?
It costs the town nothing. National Grid pays for everything. They pay for the police details. The work is done in-house through National Grid, mostly at night, as their schedule allows. But it costs the town nothing, saves us about $35,000 to $40,000 a year in a lump sum payment of $50,000 some odd dollars upon completion of the project. And if you've been to other towns, you've probably seen them. They're brighter, they're safer for traffic, and they actually cut down on crime in some circumstances. The town of Stoughton has said so, and so it's a good project for the town. I'm excited to see it happen.
Win-win.
It is a win-win.
Yeah, I saw this get posted online at one point, and I thought it was excellent news.
It is. It's. I mean, the lights are awesome. They really are. So that's good. Other than that, there's been really no other changes to the highway side of things. Tree trimming, we kept that the same, even though we still have a list of about 40 trees that need to be taken down. It's down from about 150 from after the accident from about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, yes. So we're chopping away at the list. I mean, we could use an increase in that, but I don't think now is the proper time. We have to subcontract that out. We don't have the manpower, nor do we have a bucket truck. So that is contracted out through a competitive bidding process. But the list is down to 40, so we are making headway on that. I'm hopeful in about 3 years we don't have a list, and we can be more proactive.
John, you used to have a bucket truck, no?
Yes, we still have a bucket truck, Barbara, but we can no longer get it certified because it has been deemed unsafe. So it is on our capital plan for fiscal year 2021,
That was my next question.
with other items.
Okay.
A bucket truck, you need to be able to control it from the top with the man in the bucket. And it also needs to be controlled down below in case something happens to the man in the bucket.
Right.
And we can't do that anymore. So it's not safe.
Makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Other than that, there's been no increases in anything in the highway budget line items. Nothing. Snow salaries and snow, we've budgeted 100,000 every year for before my time. And right now, as it stands, without Tuesday's storm, we have a deficit of $123,397.
How much did it cost you, John? I asked the question just for anyone that's watching. How much did it cost you to, at the beginning of the season, fill the?
They were already full from last year,
Mhm.
but we've had
What was full from last year?
the salt sheds.
Thank
The
you.
salt-
Sorry,
Sorry.
Deb. Sorry about that. But we've already had 8 sanding / salting events. I should have said / plowing events.
Right.
So the deficit stands at $123,000. That's without this past storm, and we had to plow the last storm. So
Yep.
that's going to jump. We had no choice. We tried to treat it with salt, and we had to plow it just like every other town plowed. Are there any questions on the highway budget? I can move right to the sewer if you'd like.
Anyone with questions on highway before we move on? All right, let me find sewer. There's the rest of the highway department budget. Sewer, there we go.
Okay, for sewer, again, no real increases, just 2% COLAs for positions that aren't in a union and step increases for those who are in a union. Other than that, no real increases. Electricity is the same. Vehicle repairs the same. Every single line item is pretty much the same. Even intermunicipal, which is our biggest line item, we've kept that the same, 1.3 million.
Just flip them through slowly so people can be sure to see those.
If the intermunicipal line item is used to fund treatment and transport of wastewater in Rockland and Brockton, because the town of Abington doesn't own its own treatment plant, we have to transport 95% of our sewer flow to Brockton and 5% to Rockland. That's what that line item is used for. And it's pretty much the same as last year, 1.365 million. And we worked out a new intermunicipal agreement with the city of Brockton about 4 years ago, might be 5 years now, where we are allotted an additional 500,000 gallons of sewer capacity a day, bringing us in more revenue and allowing people to tie into the sewer system because, as you know, we were under a moratorium there for several years.
Mm.
Not a good position to be in.
How are we doing with that? Are we approaching the increased amount? Are we going to need to negotiate anything new soon, or are we doing okay with that?
Matt, it's based on a 365-day rolling average, and I just created a 365-day average yesterday on a spreadsheet, and it's 1.056 million. So we basically have 445,000 gallons of sewer capacity available. As you know, though, that's predicated on weather, rain events, snow events, stuff like that.
So it's at a little over 1 million, and the
Yep.
overall agreement is 1.5 million. So we're
Yes, sir.
we're at about 2/3 of capacity. So
Yes, sir. It used to be 1 million until the new agreement 5 years ago.
Is
excellent.
that something that will go, not if, I don't know if it affects money wise, but is that something that would go down when people stop being at home all day?
It's a good question, Greg. I think so. I do. I think so. Definitely. We've seen it bump up a little bit. I'm sure Joe Lapointe will tell you the same thing about the water with everyone home. He's probably using more water. I don't want to speak for him, but I see a slight bump in sewer use. Definitely.
I think even just in your own homes, you see it, or at least in mine, an increase in the electricity because everyone's home all day using all of their online
Exactly.
equipment and,
Exactly.
food bills gone up,
No one's going to work in Boston.
right.
The electricity budget here wasn't zeroed out like you did in the other department. Is it different here?
That line item is used to fund the electricity for the pumps. We have
Oh, okay.
we have 13 pump stations. A lot of people don't know that. The main one is here on Summer Street where I'm sitting right now. And then we have 12 satellite pump stations. And that 46,000 covers the electricity for those pumps.
Okay, so that's not going to go into Sue's overall electricity budget.
No, it never has. It's always been its own separate line. Any other questions before I get into the capital plan?
Anyone? All right, sounds like you can go ahead to the capital plan.
Thank you, Matt. Do you guys have a copy of it? I sent it out last week.
Hang on, let me.
If not, I can just read it off.
Hold on 1 second, I can get back to that. All right, hold on, switching my share. All right.
There it is.
There we go.
So the first item is the bucket truck, the aforementioned bucket truck. I think we can get a new one for 200,000, or we can get a used one for 50. It doesn't matter to me either way, whatever the town chooses to do, but we desperately need it. The other thing we desperately need is a street sweeper. This would replace a street sweeper from 1994.
Say the first thing on the bucket truck one more time.
Say that again, Greg?
Could you say the first thing on the bucket truck one more time?
He said we'll get a used one, maybe.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, whatever the town decides, we could get a new one or we could get a used one.
Okay.
But you get what you pay for. So whatever the town decides, that's it. And then the street sweeper we need a street sweeper to replace a 1994, and the dust control system on the 1994 sweeper is unrepairable. So the driver of the street sweeper is subject to silica, and it's just it's not an ideal situation.
Yep.
And also the street sweeper, we are now under a new stormwater permit, which you may or may not know. It's a 10-year permit that requires us to sweep the streets at least twice a year. And we have 221 streets. So that's, we have no choice but to do so. And another item I'd like to see happen is a pickup truck replacement to replace a 1997 waste oil furnace for the front building at the highway DPW garage. It burns waste oil to offset the cost of natural gas heating. And finally, we desperately need a new building. I know everyone has an old building, but we really have an old building.
I believe, if I remember correctly, you have the oldest building.
That's correct, Matt. And the roof leaks, it's beyond repair, and it's desperately needed. I know now might not be the time for it, but it has to be on our radar.
Yep.
How long does it take to sweep 221 streets?
I believe it took us about 5 weeks, maybe 6. Yeah, 6 weeks, I'd say.
And you have to do it twice.
We have to do it twice a year. Yes, sir. And that includes any roads with sidewalks need to be blown off. So I should say it's more than one guy. On occasions, if you're doing Center Ave, Washington, 139, Hancock, roads like that, Rockland, you're using 3 guys because it takes 2 to blow off the sidewalks before the street sweeper goes down the road. And this is mandatory now.
Yeah.
This wasn't like 5 years ago or 4 years ago when you didn't have to report all this stuff. Now it's required by the DEP through the EPA.
So we're using the street sweeper 12 weeks a year.
Yes, sir.
Are there any grants or anything like that for something like this?
No, sir. We thoroughly search every grant available. Right now we have a couple grants applications in, but nothing pertains to DPW buildings, nothing pertains to street sweepers, nothing pertains to trucks, unless we're going to use our own Chapter 90 money, which I'll get to in a little bit if you have time.
I have a question.
Well, Barbara.
We had stopped a while ago doing the maintenance of the sidewalks as far as like the spraying for the weeds and things. Have you?
We still do that, Barbara. I think we probably in July we have them sprayed, the main roads anyway.
Okay. I'm thinking I remember that a while back I had maybe it was when it might have been quite a while back.
It was probably a few years back, but the last 2, Barbara, we've definitely been on top of the situation, spraying the weeds on Washington, Randolph, Town Hall, Glenowitz, and every other major road, most major roads anyway. We're trying to get a handle on it.
And you have to have someone with that's certified to do that, right?
That's correct. That's correct. We don't do that in-house. We subcontract that out.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
So John, most likely the capital planning committee will reach out to you too about these items. But one of the things we talked about yesterday was helping us to prioritize which of those things that are most important. Sounds like they're all important. But one other question I had too is the bucket truck the only one that qualifies for us getting used?
Say that, being
Or,
used?
Well, so I guess said differently. So you have two options for the bucket truck, right? So, is used an option for pickup truck and street sweeper?
I mean, I suppose for a pickup truck, it might be an option, but I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't do it for the street sweeper either, because for the amount of beating it's taking.
Mhm.
For the bucket truck, that's like an emergency basis type of machine, vehicle. Like if there is a broken limb hanging over a road, we'll get out there with the bucket truck and take that thing down. It's
No.
something that wouldn't be used every day, so we could go with a
Mhm.
used one if the town chooses to.
Okay, that makes sense. But where the other ones would get much more use.
Like it's a good question, but a pickup truck, that's gonna be used every day, and you get what you pay for. If you wanna pay $20,000 for a pickup truck that's 5 years old, I'm gonna be asking you again in 5 years.
Okay.
There's no way to do a town share with the street sweeper? Get another town that needs to do the same thing? Use it the other 40 weeks a year?
I mean, I guess they could be, but would be using it at the same time, spring and fall. I mean, I can look into that, but it's supposed to be done after the winter to sweep up the salt, and in the fall to sweep up the leaves, and that's what we've been doing.
Okay, so
I mean, it's not a bad question, but I don't
That's
know,
also weather dependent too, right? Like,
yeah, it's weather dependent, emergency dependent, everything dependent.
Like,
I mean, the one we have is 26 years old.
no, you need something, no doubt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah, if there was a way to do like we talked about with other things, regionalized, that would be great. But if everybody needs it in the same couple of weeks of the year, that's
And as Barbara alluded to, you can't use it during good weather. You're not going to go out there in the pouring rain and sweep roads. It's futile. So that's the highway capital plan. And if you turn the page, I'll scroll down, Matt.
Yep.
That's the MS4 portion of the capital plan. These are the items we have to do per the permit, MS4 permit, which we're in year 2 out of 10. These are all housekeeping items that we have to do.
Just because I don't recall, what is MS4?
Stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. They want to make sure that the waters we're not polluting the waters. That's why they want the salt off the roads. They want the leaves off the roads. They want the streets cleaned, swept. They don't want anyone to pollute the waters. That's the whole basis behind the 10-year MS4 permit. It's a stormwater permit.
and you have to check each one so many times, right?
That's correct. And by the end of the 10-year permit, we're going to have to digitize the entire stormwater infrastructure, and that's going to be a big ticket item. Thank God it's not due now.
anything else there.
So I'm kind of cheating, right? Because I have the 5-year plan. So like, should these things be recurring every year, or it looks like some don't show up again year to year?
They don't know. They're not recurring every year. It's based on the permit is probably 200 pages long.
Mhm.
It's based on the contents of the permit.
Okay.
So for a government document, it's short.
That's correct. But like I said, the biggest ticket item in the permit will be digitizing the stormwater infrastructure. That's going to be big. But we're probably 3 years out on that. That's going to be big money.
Okay. And so when you say big money, like we talking millions?
No, I don't think millions. I think hundreds of thousands, probably several 100,000.
Okay. Good to know.
But it's another unfunded federal and state mandate. And they have the ability to fine us if we don't complete some of these items, like sweep the streets twice a year, clean the catch basins. They have the ability to fine us.
I know everybody's gonna hate me for this question, but is the fine less than what it would cost for a lot of these things?
I believe I got an email that they could fine us $37,500 a day for non-compliance.
It would just be something every day, not just one thing you didn't do it.
37,500 a day. I mean, yeah.
I got it.
That's more than the
Our
cost of.
eligibility for grants
Yeah.
would go, we wouldn't be eligible for any federal grant or state grant.
I don't think there's any grants out there for most
No,
of
but
these
other
items.
grants that we may apply for that are based on federal and state money, we would become ineligible for if we were not in
Yeah.
compliance.
Yes. Would you like to scroll down, Matt?
Yep. Parks and grounds.
This is more of like wish list items, the first three anyway, that we could use. Paint machine, it's used every day from spring to fall to line the fields, stripe the fields for football, soccer, lacrosse, baseball. We're gonna need a new one at some point soon. We might be able to get another year out of it. We might be able to get 2 years out of it, but we're gonna need another one soon. The Beaver Brook Camp could use an extension. According to Kelly, there's been a lot more enrollment over the last several years. They're running out of space. We're not sure if that's more of a capital item or more of an item for CPA, or not sure at this point. Maybe it's something for the capital plan committee to decide.
What does that mean? A extension to the building? Is that like an addition?
In addition to the Eager Beaver Camp, there's not enough room for, if it rains, there's not enough room inside the building itself for the kids. The enrollment is up 20% over the last 2 years.
Did you hear that?
The enrollment's up.
And it's really nothing fancy, right? I mean, it's almost like a garage type of space.
It is a garage, Barbara. It's strictly a garage. A slab, 3 walls, 1 window, garage door. That's all they were looking for. And any questions on that?
Oh, the difference between the paint machine and the
Stripper.
striper.
Never gonna live that down.
The paint machine stripes, it actually applies paint at a fast pace. So we can do the football field in 3 hours. If we were to do it by hand, it would be, I don't know, maybe 10 hours.
No, I mean,
Striper.
same as the striper.
Yes, it's the same as the striper.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Do you want to scroll down to the sewer map?
Yep.
Just wait. How often do we use the front end loader?
Oh, we use it for snow. We use it down at the Island Grove, the beach area, to grate the beach
Okay.
for opening and closing.
So just sorry. So the paint machine is the striper, or
Same thing, Greg.
so just another striper?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go.
You want to go down one, Matt?
Yep,
Thank you.
it's just updating my notes. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. The only capital plan item, and of course, this will be funded out of the undesignated fund, is to continue lining the manholes. And that it restores structural integrity to the sewer manholes at probably about a third of the cost. And we're trying to do so many a year. And that's all I have on that.
Any other questions there? Capital questions for John? Looks like a no. Any questions in general for John?
Matt, can we go to the road rating, please?
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Sorry.
No, not a problem.
There we go.
This is a list of every road in town. The first row is length and miles. The second row is our ranking of the road itself, the structural integrity of the road on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being best. I just wanted to share this with the finance committee because at some point the town's going to have to start investing in the roads. Well, other towns do it. East Bridgewater does it. Rockland does it. As it stands now, if you look at the entire spreadsheet and go to the bottom, you'll see that almost 30% of our roads are rated at below 5 or below average. And if we don't start supplementing the Chapter 90 funds with some town funds, we're never going to catch up. It's only going to get worse. The situation is going to get worse. Other towns match what Chapter 90 pays or gives the town. For those who don't know, Chapter 90 is our only funding source for repaving roads. We get about $390,000 a year, which doesn't go very far at all. We need to start adding to that, supplementing that if we're going to catch up. The roads are starting to fall apart. We have no choice. I don't know if this is the year to do it, but one of these years we're going to have to start investing in the infrastructure, or it's only going to get worse.
John, is that something that you could throw out some figures, like X amount each year, maybe, and talking with the capital planning committee?
Yes, I'd like to do that. We probably get about 400,000 in Chapter 90, a little bit less than 400,000 in Chapter 90 money. I'd like to match that at a similar number. That's what East Bridgewater does. They just had a town meeting in January where they passed 390,000. I attached it to the email, Matt, I believe.
Yeah.
Not that I want to copy other towns, but that's how other towns keep up with their road paving. Chapter 90 alone cannot cover it. Not when the town is growing like it's been growing. We have 221 roads now. And how many? 65 below average. We have some roads that are in dire need of repair.
Yeah, I saw some 2s on the list.
Yes, those are 2s. That's going to be your Birch Street, Upper Washington near the Whitman line across from Strawberry Valley. That's going to be Hancock Street from Chestnut to Patricia. That's going to be Plymouth Street from the Whitman line to 123. Those are going to be your 2s. These are if we don't start supplementing the Chapter 90 next year, we're going to have 80 roads under average.
What number do you start replacing at?
We'd start right at 2, Greg. I think the lowest, we didn't give anything a 1 because that would be, shutting the road down. But if you took a ride down, say Hancock from Chestnut to Lincoln or the Patricia area, you'd know what I'm talking about. Or if you
I think-
drive down Birch Street, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
John, I think Greg's question is at what number, like 98765, at what number do you start replacing it? Not like what's the bottom that you'll go to, like what number, what grades won't you replace?
Oh,
It's like 4.
yeah, 4.
Yeah.
4.
So once it's below 5, you're looking to replace.
That's kind of why we highlighted the below 5s.
Right.
So John, so if, so do we have money specified somewhere for this upcoming, the fiscal year reviewing right now, or is it just?
I believe Governor Baker just put in his budget a renewal for Chapter 90, so we're probably going to get a similar number to past years, which is approximately 400,000. But the problem is it doesn't get you very far.
So
So-
that 400,000 is used for what? Is that used for repaving or?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Is it only repaving? Is that the
No,
money's
we
for?
use that for other items, engineering studies. But right now, with this condition of the roads, we'd try to get it strictly to road paving.
Mhm.
All the highlighted ones.
And so right now and previous years, we've just been taking that Chapter 90 money and doing whatever we can. But
That's correct.
but I think what you're saying is like starting right now, we need to have more money set
Exactly.
aside. So where does that more money show up? Is that a capital plan for DPW? Where does that show up?
I'm not sure if it's a capital plan item or an item for an article. That might be a question for Scott, but either way, we have to get it out there that we have to start investing in the infrastructure. I would
Does
like
that
I would like an article,
Does-
leave it up to the
does-
taxpayers. That's the way East Bridgewater did it.
And does it become part of our yearly budget? Or we
Probably
factor
should,
that
man.
in?
It probably should for at least 5 years.
So
How much does just money wise needs to be done right now? Like if you were to replace all the 2 through 4.
Greg, I didn't add all that up because that would be.
Oh, I'm sure, but just like a round number, is it like 5 million or like 2 million?
I'd say higher than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I would probably, yeah, maybe around. Just for instance, if we were to do Lincoln Street, I think we gave Lincoln Street a grade of 3 or 4, somewhere around there, or 2 maybe.
2.
I'm not sure off the top of my head if you go on.
2.
Yeah, Lincoln Street we gave it a grade of 2.
Yep, Lincoln Street's a 2.
We need to
1.1
replace
miles.
Lincoln Street. Lincoln Street is 1.1 miles long. In our estimate, it would cost $350,000 to repave Lincoln. So now you get an idea of what. We'll take Lincoln off the list, but everything else is still there till next year.
Right.
And then we'd have more below average roads.
What? Stop.
Scott or Sue, is that something, is that like a go out to borrow, a debt exclusion? Is it better to try and put it in the budget yearly?
Barbara, I'd like to get to the point to have it in the budget yearly, at least for a few years until we can get caught up, because the situation's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
No, it's nobody's fault. It's just, we're only getting 10, 12, 15 years out of some of these roads because
Right.
we live in the Northeast. So.
Yeah.
What did we do in previous years?
Hang on, Greg, Scott, what were you going to say there?
No, just, I agree with John. It makes sense that we dedicate on an annual basis a certain amount of money, but again, we have to look, a job of the capital committee and committee, I think it's sort of to look overall, what can we do? We're working on a policy for that capital planning committee, but that's just part of an overall financial policy for the town that we want to update that.
Hey,
Seeing
what's
a
up?
copy of that,
Come here.
probably at your next meeting. So
Come here.
I think within that and within the confines of that, we have to look and make that decision, as a group. What do we want to do? I mean, absolutely have to deal with this. I believe in Duxbury, that's how they dealt with it. It was annual basis. A certain amount went in. I don't remember whether we quite matched Chapter 90, but it was fairly robust. Some years they wouldn't use it all, and it would go in the following year, and then they could do even more. I think John will tell you, you probably get better buying power with the more we're doing. So, I think we have to just look at it and decide how we want to fund it. I don't believe borrowing's a good idea on it. I'd like to really do that within our budget, but.
And Greg,
We're probably borrowing for something else.
Now stop screaming.
Greg, to answer your question, most of these roads were paved during the installation of SOAR, probably 15, 20, 30 years ago. That's when most of these roads were paved last.
And no, so thank you. But meaning, again, I know I haven't been on this committee for the longest time. But
You right now. Stop
why wouldn't this already have been in the budget to where this is planned for every year? This does sound like something that needs to happen every year. Is there some, I mean, Matt, you might be like, is there something that happened? Did we take it out because we couldn't afford it, or?
No, I don't think so, Greg. I think it's just, the calls we get at the office mainly are about the condition of the roads. Social media, a lot of social, I don't follow it myself, but I hear that the biggest complaint is the condition of the roads. It's something that, we did the survey in-house. We didn't spend any money on it, but I just think I noticed what Rockland was doing. I noticed what other towns are doing. And I think it's time that we start doing something similar. I don't know if this is the year, but the year has to come soon.
No, I agree with you.
I think that we used to, we were more able to get more from our Chapter 90 when we had less streets. So I think as the town has grown, Chapter 90 money doesn't stretch as far. And
does the Chapter 90 money, is it not relative to how many streets you have?
In a way, Greg, but it's not like they increase it. It's been the same for.
That's what I mean. So if they're not, again, I don't know if there's some, I'm all in for giving money for this because I'm the one who pays for tires. So, but is there a way that they can give more money? Or does every town get $390,000 and that's it?
Every town gets a number based on the amount of roads they have, based on the mileage of roads they have. So it doesn't fluctuate much. It's pretty much the same every year, give or take a few thousand.
We added a lot of streets. It doesn't really fluctuate that much.
No.
Yep.
but they don't increase, they haven't really increased the amount that you get per street, correct?
Correct.
So what you got for X number of streets 10 years ago, you could stretch that money, that money went a little further than today's prices. And
I would, I don't know if we think about, this is really off track because it has nothing to do with John Stone, but when we do these new developments that we create streets, we got to start building this into it. Because the fact that we're paying for it, nobody's backing us up on it. This stuff needs to start getting built in if possible. Again, I don't know the rules, but.
Matt, do you have the East Bridgewater article attached in the
Yep,
draft
hold on
article I created?
1 second, let me get to that. That's right here.
That's a draft article we created. If the town decided to go with that, it's similar to what East Bridgewater did, similar to what Rockland does. Bottom line is Chapter 90 alone isn't going to cover it anymore.
Yep.
It's my job to define what the department needs and what infrastructure needs that need to be met. And that's what I did. It's up to the town to decide what they want to do.
And you're saying to match it, correct?
Greg, I'm not,
No, but that's your opinion. That's what I'm looking for.
I think for 5 years, close to matching Chapter 90 would get us out of all those yellow, the Excel spreadsheet would be less yellow is what I know would happen. And then maybe we wouldn't have to do it anymore. We wouldn't have to match chapter 90 anymore. Maybe we would have a better handle on it.
Do you know how the other towns do it? Is it a every year thing, or do they do what you're saying? They do it for 5 years and then they don't.
Rockland does it for 5 years. I believe East Bridgewater does it every year. They're a little bit bigger than us road-wise, but we gotta have to come close to matching it.
And so something like this, Sue and Scott, like in an article like this, how does that get funded?
Well, if it goes to town meeting and it gets approved at town meeting, it's coming out of our, however we decide we're gonna fund it. We're either within levy, or
Yeah,
taking out of free cash, or we're taking it,
or we're borrowing.
borrowing. I would hope we wouldn't be borrowing, but maybe.
Yeah.
But I will put it out to other towns too, just to, get a general consensus on how everybody else is trying to, get a hold of it. But I think he's right. We absolutely need to do something. It's just a matter of, whether we can start it this year or not, would be part one. And then part two would be if we can start it, what's that number? What's the number that we can afford? Because like I said, if we're either doing this and then prioritizing this over something else, or if we're not borrowing for this and we've prioritized something else that we don't have money for, we're borrowing for that, or we're just not getting everything done that we might need to get done. So, but something, and I, wholeheartedly back this, that something has to be done, that we have to start chipping away at it. It's just coming up with a number right now might be a little more difficult.
Yeah, I would think it's something that the town will get behind, because to John's point, right? It's a big complaint on social media. Take it for what it's worth. But I know that having our roads paved I'd imagine it would be widely supported. So I think, if I'm not sure what that bar is to determine if this is the year, but I think it should be, right?
Yeah.
The problem's not going away.
Yeah.
It's worse.
And I would think that better conditions of the road themselves would lead to better conditions for your equipment that you're using on the roads, better conditions when you're plowing.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that
For all departments, right?
Correct.
Fire, police, it's not just
Correct.
DPW. So,
Absolutely.
so I guess
Yeah,
ask the question.
if I could just add that this isn't a capital request for the DPW. This is a capital request for the town, just like the bridge was. This isn't, we're not asking for a new office. We're asking for something for the taxpayers. That's it.
Yeah.
This isn't strictly for the DPW. Everyone uses these roads and infrastructures and bridges, and that's
There's
all.
there's
that's
a big
the point I
difference
wanna make.
between this and a bucket truck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. This
Yeah.
is something that everyone uses. This isn't, when the capital plan committee meets, pick one item from the DPW, pick one item from another department. This is something that the entire town uses. The taxpayers, every department. This is something that should be added to maybe the budget at some point if we get to that point.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what's the obstacles for making it happen this year? Is it just getting it passed at town hall?
I would leave that to Scott to answer.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just, we're just starting or we're in the budget process and I don't know. I think that's ultimately the obstacle is what can we afford this year?
finding the money or finding a funding source or what we're going to.
I think either way, we do something and we start it. It may not be as much as we want this year, but I think we introduce it and we let everybody know that this is something that we're dedicated to doing every year, and that, if we didn't fund it to the maximum amount that we want this year, we intend to increase that amount next year and the year after until we do get a good handle on this.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just put it into the budget and not put it into a capital plan?
What?
It's still money, no matter how you look at it, whether it's in the budget as a line item or capital plan, or it's, if it's in the levy or coming out of free cash or borrowing it, somehow we still have to look at the big picture with it.
Yeah.
Before we can put a number on it.
I'm just saying, if we wanted to do it,
Yeah, we could make a line item for it, sure.
that's the only, we're gonna wait until when's town meeting?
April 24th, I think.
So I don't know if we'd be doing any paving before April anyway, but it definitely sounds like it's something that should be in our budget.
Well, it won't go into the budget until next year either way.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, I think it's a good conversation. I think it, whatever we could do to cheerlead it, I think it makes sense for us to push for the moon, right? Push for the max, the match, and then figure out, can we do it, right? I mean,
It's good for the town, Joe. It's good for the
Yeah.
taxpayers. It's good for
yeah,
their,
I can't.
it's good for their cars.
Yeah, I mean, never say never, right? Because people want everything till they got to pay for it, right? But I would feel like with enough cheerleading, people would be like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. Set expectations correctly though, because
Yeah.
adding 350,000, all that did was, now you just did Lincoln Street. You
That's
didn't do all
correct.
these others.
Right. Yeah.
There's about 14 or 15 miles of yellow streets from what I could add up quickly. And if it's.
I don't normally
350,000
speak up, but as a taxpayer, I agree with, we need our roads fixed, but if you're gonna increase my taxes, I might not be behind you. You know?
That's
Can't
because
afford
you're
the
just,
taxes
It
now.
won't, it won't increase your taxes. It's just gonna take away from your other services. So
Right.
that's
No.
why
It's
it's
a
better to
question
make it
of
a
it's-
capital item.
Yeah, so right now it's a question of what can we do in the coming fiscal year? How can we do it? And what will it cost us to do it? What will it cost us not
I-
getting?
I have to
other
disagree.
capital i-
I
other
think it should be
capital
left up
items?
to the taxpayers. It should be an article in town meeting.
I didn't see, this, back to Sonia, and I don't have it in front of me. I didn't see what we had for debt falling off. Did anyone notice?
It's a good question. Very
Yeah,
good question.
I believe we've had the conversations and there wasn't a lot of debt falling off
Yeah,
this year. I think the debt was starting to come off next year or the year after. Maybe the police station was starting to come off. Maybe your windows over at a school that's not there anymore will be coming off.
According to the budget that Sue gave us, the total debt service, would that be the number we should look at? It was 5.1 in fiscal year 21 and it's 4.9 in fiscal 22.
4.977577. Somewhere between $1 and $200,000.
It's
coming
coming.
up. And looking at, hang on, I'll switch my share again.
Thank you. Sorry, Matt.
No, it's okay.
What?
Can you see the debt again on there? So looking at columns M and O and P, which is fiscal year 22, 23, 24, 25, I was scrolling and I didn't see anything that was particularly coming off of the books. So
But it might be payments are going down.
payments may be going down. Like it's some of them, the payments were going up a little bit. Some were going down a little bit. Like high school windows and doors comes down 4,000.
Wow.
Then down another 8,000. Senior center comes down about 11,000 over the next 4 years, etc. So
So it was a net change of what? Of how much?
um,
Ballpark?
just those top four over the next 4 years is a net change of about a little under $300,000. And in other areas, it looks like
Matt.
there's some, yes, Sue.
If you look at column B, it tells you the year of maturity.
Yep.
So basically, I think
27,
the
28,
police
28,
station, yeah, the
41.
police station is the first thing to come off in 27.
Yep.
So are there things though that decrease in, you know how sometimes the first couple of years cost us a little bit more and then, you know, as we get into the payments, certain things they decrease. Is there anything like that that,
I can't speak for how Sonia has done things since she came in, and she's not here anymore, but I know, when Leo was there, it was always a level principal payment, and then you pay more interest in the beginning and less interest at the end.
right?
And so I don't know, based on what I'm seeing on Matt's screen, how she has handled it in the last 3 years, but, I believe she handles it in the same situation. So you're paying. Actually, if you look at the
Looks very
high school,
similar.
yes, it's very similar. It's like the same principal across the board, and then your interest goes from high to low. So you're paying the same principal and it's going down in interest.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue.
Mhm.
Now, Barbara, were you asking that to see if there was money
Just,
somewhere?
yeah, just to see if there's, any space coming up, you know, any wiggle room within any staying within the levy.
Essentially replace the stuff coming off with money for the roads.
Right, without having to, I was looking to see how much, is it only $1,000? Is it 20,000? Is it, you know, does it give us any wiggle room there?
So debt over the capacity that the state allows us to borrow on. When we were going with the school, we were at the top limit because we had to borrow at the top. Well, we had to say we were authorizing the top limit, even though we knew we were going to get MSBA funding.
Right,
So now that that project's done, we still, I don't want to be like on target with numbers, but we were at, like, say the MSBA gave us $48 million and we borrowed 98 or 53 and we had 48. So there's a capacity there that we can borrow up to $48 million. But when you go up to that borrowing, it's like, again, how are you going to do it? Is it going to be debt exclusion? Is it going to be off the levy? You know, so those are things that you need to think about when you're talking about borrowing. So we do have the borrowing capacity. It's a matter of how we want to address that borrowing capacity through debt exclusion or through the levy. And you know, when you do it through the levy, you're taking away from services.
no, so I was thinking more like if something's falling off with debt, our,
Yeah, so basically the police station in 2027 is the first thing that's falling off.
Wow.
And I think we'll be putting stuff on larger ticket items between now and.
Wow.
I
If we
think I heard
refi- if-
mention of a new building for the DPW.
A new fire station, new DPW. building. So there's a lot of things out there.
I'd like to hold the next finance committee meeting at the DPW building on a rainy night, please.
No, I was there. The building's horrific.
It's the worst. It's a fire hazard is what it is.
literally
I've been
doesn't-
there too.
It honestly
It's
doesn't
tough.
make sense anybody goes in there.
I feel bad for my guys who have to go in there every day.
No, I know, and I feel bad too. That's why I just said it though. It doesn't.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
Really doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't
it's
make
bad.
any sense at all.
quite a while, bad like that for quite a while.
It's like a cinder block building. I mean, when was the last time you saw a cinder block building?
Yeah, it's horrific. The conditions are deplorable. And I can't wait for the town to invest in a new building for my guys. But I put the roads first.
The quick question, Matt, could you pull up that thing that you had there?
The debt.
Yeah, please. So, Sue, can could we refinance any of this stuff or no? And I know it's bonds, but could we sort of redo any of this stuff, adding to what you just said, you can borrow up to a certain amount? But the reason I'm asking is because if we took out a loan in 07 and again, I don't know what it is. So maybe this is why you can answer all these questions. But if we have a higher rate, we bought those down, wouldn't that effectively be able to give us more money to do something with?
We have done that in the past, and it's usually with our short-term borrowing.
Yep.
You know, you're putting it out there until the project's done, and then you group the projects together as one borrowing. And we have also turned over other projects if the time is right, but you have to wait for the time to be right for the town and the interest rates to go down.
Yeah. And am I over speaking by saying the interest rates are at the lowest they've ever been?
Pretty close.
But we get low rates as it is for a municipality because we
Yeah.
have the expectation that our real estate and property tax are like guaranteed revenues, even if we don't get it in the year that we tax out for it. That if they don't pay it, we get tax title. So we pretty much get a pretty low rate as it is.
All right. I just, so
But-
my
but
only,
It's lower, a lot lower now than it was in 2007.
so that's my only big question, because I was just looking at like the police station and
So
the senior center and the windows that for the building we don't use or whatever, all those things, not all of them, but those three that equal, let's just say $10 million. If I don't know what we owe on them right now, just because I can't see all the way to the right, but if we owe $3 million on those right now, could we redo those and put in what John's talking about or other stuff just to, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a way.
These are
So
much-
Greg, if you look at column L, that has the principal outstanding as of
Got it.
the end of this fiscal year. Sorry, Scott.
I was just gonna say, I wish Sonia was still here while we were coming up with all these questions.
I just texted her and asked her to jump back on.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Sue.
But she did say she was gonna take some, as Sue said, some of the ones that was short-term. She said she was gonna group them up. Now,
that-
there's enough of them and make them a long-term and grab the current low rate. So,
Those are the ones that are marked ban. Those are your bond anticipation notes.
Yeah.
And I believe that was the reason why we had a meeting today with the bonding company. It's
Yeah.
because those are the ones that she is grouping together at this point. And I have to believe, and Sonia can answer it obviously better, that any of these other ones, if there was any opportunity to restructure that would create significant savings, she certainly would do it.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking. Thanks.
right.
All right. Anything else?
Can I just ask Deb a question?
You
Me?
can, yes.
Yeah, yes, Deb. Do you like your new road that you just got a couple years back?
It was quite a few years back, wasn't it?
3.
Really, was that? I thought it was longer than that. Yeah, I love the new roads. They
Yes,
did this whole area.
that's what I thought.
You couldn't even walk on them. They were so bad.
Yes, that's how a lot of the others are. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say, John, you guys just did the section of High Street that my street is off of.
Yes, sir.
I was out standing at the bus stop with my daughter a couple of the days that you guys were working on it. They did a great job and the road is beautiful now. It was
Appreciate it.
very bumpy before, to put it nicely. It's silky smooth now.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you. On a good note, the force main project that went before you guys last year, the design is 100% complete and it will be going out to bid soon. And we will be getting a new 2-mile force main from this office here on Summer Street all the way to Walmart. We will be,
Wow.
upon completion, we will be paving, as part of the project, every road will be paved from curb to curb. It's just Summer Street and Vernon Street, but it's something, so.
Yeah,
And we get a brand new force main that'll last probably 60 years.
excellent.
That is good news.
Yeah.
That's another, thank you for just saying that.
And
Didn't we
thank you
have-
for approving it last year.
So didn't we have to, don't we have to replace some piping or something like that?
That's it, Greg, yes.
Yep.
No,
That's
but
what
so
we said.
was that the only thing we had to replace?
Yes, sir, it's, yes.
I thought it was maybe, I thought we had a little bit more as well. That's,
No, it's a $7 million project.
yeah.
There's other things that have to be done with it, but the gist of it is a brand new, we're going from a 16-inch force main to a 20-inch force main to accommodate maybe future growth if there is any. So that's, with all the bad news, I just wanted to add some good news that we are making some progress.
Good to hear.
Thank you
Nice.
for ending on a good note, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone have anything else for John?
Just a quick question, right? So talking about trying to get these roads paved, is that document that you created, John, something that it can be public? I mean, do people know across the town which ones are in yellow?
Joe, we have it on, we just created that document probably about a week ago,
Mhm.
and it's on the website
Oh, nice, fantastic,
under the DPW page.
great.
And I think I'm meeting
Excellent.
with the selectmen Monday. Scott, if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm meeting with them Monday.
I'm
And,
putting it on the agenda. Give
I'd
them
like
that.
to, I'd like to get the same items that the finance committee had tonight into the hands of the selectmen prior to our meeting.
Excellent.
So everyone's on the same page.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for John? John, I know we've taken a lot of your time tonight. We appreciate all of the time, all of the updates, and all of the hard work that you're putting in to try and keep the town going and help make it better, and doing it as fiscally responsibly as you can.
We try very hard, Matt. All credit goes to my staff, and thank you to the finance committee for volunteering your time. And thank you to Greg for being our liaison. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thanks,
John.
John.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
Great day.
All right, going back to our agenda. Oh, no, that's not the right one. Hang on.
Can I ask Scott a quick question?
No. Yes, you can, Greg.
Thank you for that. Scott, so we effectively need a DPW building. Fire saying that their buildings aren't good. I think both of them, from what I understand, I might be wrong, but I think both of them they're saying aren't good. At least the one on Route 18 is good. I know that we looked into or paid for a study. Did anybody look at like combining places? Because I know this fire building was like 35 million, which I know that's not going to get approved, but did anybody look at like combining something so we might be able to?
I wasn't involved in the study for the fire station. So I do know that what specifically they looked at in that study was combining, whether or not to combine the two existing fire stations, and if to combine them, where to locate them. And so that feasibility study, yes, said that the best option is to combine them, and the best option is to locate them at the off of Glenowitz, down off by the town hall. We hope to hear more about that. I think there'll be a warrant article for that, for funding for at least the design phase. But yeah, whether they ever considered the feasibility of combining that with the DPW facility, I don't know. And even at, maybe if, I don't even know that Glenowitz is big enough, that the amount of land that you would need for such a thing You know, I went out and tried to find different sites to do some, you know, due diligence on the fire station site. They thought, you know, Glenowitz was sort of their first choice because of the size of it and the centralization of it. So I did reach out to some of the other areas and just take a look, and the best next thing that I could find that wasn't already developed, you know, was down on 18 by Abington Ale House and those properties. And nobody was interested in selling to us. I reached out to the U-Haul just to see if maybe they weren't making a go of it and they wanted to sell. I reached out to where that eclectic collection was, but that would also require taking or buying other properties. So there aren't a lot of places that could fit just what they wanted to do with the combined fire station, that if we were to add a DPW facility to it, I just don't think it would fit. And likewise, I don't think by the space needs that they showed in the study for the fire station, I don't think we could plop that onto the DPW site and do anything combined with them either. It's, you know, the biggest thing is, I mean, especially in both of the disciplines, I mean, not only do you have, you know, you have a manpower that you have to deal with and you have to house, and you have to house them properly, you know, to today's standards, but then you have a ton of equipment and it's all super expensive. And you know, and both of them have very big toys. Not, you know, they're not, you know, small compact things. They're all giant trucks, and they're very expensive. And so you have to store them where we can take care of them in the best way. So it takes up a lot of real estate and it takes up a lot of building. So yeah, to answer you, maybe they'll look a little bit if we approve a study for the DPW. And when that goes out for the feasibility study, you know, maybe we can look then, but, you know, again, I think their spot that they're on is probably going to be the ultimate best spot for them.
Got it. And the only reason I'm asking, because they don't have a huge building.
Hmm.
So adding on to a building that's, you know what I mean? Like, that was my only thought, that whatever building ends up being made, it's not like the DPW has this absolutely enormous building. I'm sure John wants it to be a little bigger, but that's what. But then again, there's the garage in the back, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, with new construction, or you know, if they have to rebuild, they can, you know, consider how they're going to configure their offices, or maybe a remote office. They have the Summer Street office, and maybe you do something down there. I don't know. I do know that, you know, these things, we looked at it in Whitman. The price tag on the new facility over there was, you know, when I think it was 12 or 13 million. When I was left Duxbury, the new DPW facility was going to cost us 20 something million. And, you know, neither of them got off the ground. They're very, you know, they're high ticket items. So I'm not really sure what this study will say, what they'll say, you know, if maybe some of the buildings are in good enough shape that they just need a little bit of rehab. I don't know, but the main building, the one that, you know, is out front there, that seems to be leaning a little bit to the right, and then some areas to the left. Yeah, I think that one, you know, certainly has to be replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be the only building that is really in disrepair.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely.
Maybe there's more than one.
I would say it's in the worst shape.
I mean, if you did the tour of the fire station, at least the headquarters, you would see that it's no longer functional. It may not be as obviously in disrepair, but it's certainly not efficient, and it's not functional, and it's not safe.
All right, so I'm going to move us now on to the next portion of our agenda, liaison reports. I would like to get a report from Joe and Greg about the Capital Committee that met for the first time last night.
You want to go, Greg?
Oh,
Yeah, no, I thought it was, I mean, so I missed the first meeting. The second meeting was yesterday, and I thought that I think there's a lot of potential here, right? Because a lot of the questions that we bring up here, this capital planning committee would be responsible for, getting the details, setting a bar for, when we want something, how many bids are we getting, seeing those bids, asking the tough questions. So, right now we're just, we're trying to finalize the the role and scope, which Scott was gracious enough to offer to kind of clean up an example he found from another town. So, and then we have the 5-year capital plan, and we kind of painted it where we think it'd be similar to this committee, where we'll be reaching out to the departments, having them come in, explain their capital plan items, helping to prioritize, and then similar to here, kind of just asking the questions to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck. So overall, I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's an important piece for the town of Abington, and I'm looking forward to it getting off the ground.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
and to touch on what Joe just said, it's all the questions that we ask in here. We ask them to, if they're going to come with a capital item, to what we're going to ask is that they give 3 different scenarios, not just one. Give us some sort of an idea of different levels of things that they're looking for. Like John Stone just did, he didn't say we have to have, he'd like for the match, but if we gave half of that, it still would help. Like, those are things that we all need to know. Every single time that we go to buy a truck or whatever, did they actually get 3 different bids, or a tractor, or whatever it is? Do we actually have all of these things here, and we know, like, where did that number come from? So basically the answer should be, this number is from X, instead of, hey, we're just sort of ballparking it.
Do we have does anyone have any questions for Joe or Greg? All right. Do we have any other liaison reports? Looks like that's a no. Deb, were you able to check the mailbox?
I didn't see anything today.
Okay. And Deb sent out minutes from our last meeting. Was everyone able to review them? I thought
Yes.
they looked very good, very skillfully prepared, far better than anything that I or Joe had been able to prepare in Deb's absence. And that's
Motion.
no offense intended to Joe.
None taken.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of January
27th, I believe it was.
27th. Thank you.
Second.
So motion and a second. Is there any
Who was the
discussion?
second, Chris or Russ?
It was Joe.
Neither one. Okay, thank you.
If you keep calling out names, you'll get them.
Did we lose Sean?
I
did.
Yes.
believe that we did, yes. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from January 27th? All those opposed, abstaining, it is unanimous. The minutes are approved.
Thank you.
Our next meeting will be next Wednesday, February 10th. And we will have 3 more departments coming in. We will have the water department, the building inspection department, and the Board of Health.
Just for this group, right? Because I see this finance committee and the capital planning committee being, very, very interested in each other's work. We're doing Thursdays at 7. So next Wednesday we won't have an update for you.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? Anything to bring up? Any discussion?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to
Second.
adjourn by Joe.
Second.
Seconded by Russ. And thirded by Barbara. Any discussion? Without any, all those in favor of adjourning? Opposed? Abstaining? Greg, I think that was a delayed approval.
Positive.
As such, we are adjourned. We will see you all next week. Thank you all for your time.